You did not land here by accident. Something kept pushing you to search, to wonder, to keep looking for an answer, and that was not just random noise. It was something deeper, something real, guiding you toward a moment like this. This message found you because part of you was already turned in this direction, already listening for something that could finally calm the restless feeling inside your chest. You have been carrying this quietly for a long time, maybe days, maybe weeks, maybe much longer than you want to admit. You kept waiting for something to confirm what you already felt, hoping for something that could quiet the circle of doubt inside your mind. And most of the time, you kept it to yourself, because you already knew how other people might react. You feared being told that you were overthinking, reaching, imagining meaning where there was none, so you stayed silent. You kept it private. You told yourself to be reasonable, to be practical, to stop feeling everything so deeply. But underneath all of that noise, there was another voice, softer, steadier. It did not disappear. It stayed with you in the morning. It stayed with you at night. It stayed there when everything else went still. You tried not to hear it. You tried to stay busy. You filled your hours. You turned your attention to other things, yet it kept returning, again and again, like a hand on your shoulder you could not ignore. So let this settle in for a moment. What if that feeling is not a problem? What if it is not just anxiety or longing or an old wound repeating itself? What if it is a signal from the deepest place in you, pointing towards something true? Stay with me, because this matters more than you think. What if the reason this feeling will not leave is not because you are trapped, but because some part of you already knows something your mind has not yet learned how to explain? Today is meant to give you a kind of confirmation, a clearer shape to something you have quietly sensed but were afraid to trust all the way. Because of old pain, because of caution, because life taught you to guard your heart. You learned to silence your inner knowing. You told yourself what you felt was too much, too sudden, too intense to be real. And still, no matter how many times you tried to bury it, the truth kept rising back up. You could press it down, but it would not stay down. That means something. The timing of this is not random. You are ready to hear it now because you need clarity for your next step. Not more confusion, not more inner arguing. You need something solid enough to stand on. What you are about to understand is why your whole being reacts so strongly to this one person. Why this bond feels heavier, deeper, more alive than other connections ever did. Why even distance does not erase it. Why silence between you never feels fully empty, but somehow still carries presence. Why your intuition, that quiet inner compass that has stayed with you through everything, keeps pointing back to this connection even when your logical mind tries to talk you out of it. There is a reason you cannot just drop this and move on. There is a reason your heart responds first and your thoughts try to catch up later. And the next part is important, so do not click away in your mind. What you feel carries a meaning far beyond simple attraction, bad timing, or coincidence. It reaches deeper than that. This was not just a random meeting. It was not some passing moment that brushed against your life for no reason and happened to leave a mark. What you are experiencing works on a much deeper level than the surface layer of daily life. It feels like recognition, like resonance, like something in you knew this before your mind ever had words for it. It touches the deeper threads of your path, the unseen parts of your story, the parts that are felt before they are understood. It is almost like an echo of something your soul already remembers, something ancient, something familiar, something your mind keeps trying to explain but can never fully capture. You have tried to stop it. You have tried walking away. You have tried filling your life with distractions, forcing yourself into other routines, making yourself act unaffected. You have tried to reduce this feeling into something smaller, safer, easier to manage, but every effort to shrink it has only made you notice how strong it really is, because what rises from the deepest part of you cannot be talked out of existence by thought alone. Something keeps drawing you back. Some pull that does not answer to logic keeps returning you to the same quiet truth. The feeling that this person did not arrive by accident is not confusion. It is clarity trying to reach you through all the noise. You are not losing touch with reality. You are not creating meaning out of nothing. You are not forcing feelings where there are none. What you feel comes from a real place, from the deeper layer of your being, where something greater than your conscious mind speaks in instinct, recognition, and truth. And once you stop listening only from the surface, you begin to understand that this is not just desire you invented. It is something real that was already there, waiting for you to finally stop running from it. Still, your mind asks a fair question. How do you know the difference between a true soul-level bond and simple attachment? How do you know this is real recognition and not just need disguised as destiny? That question makes sense. A mind shaped by pain, disappointment, and fear will always try to protect you. It does that through caution, through doubt, through hesitation. It tells you to be careful, to assume the worst, to label anything powerful as dangerous. That is not your enemy. That is your mind doing what it learned to do to keep you safe. But a real connection carries signs that go deeper than empty wanting. The first sign is peace, not constant panic, not endless spinning. Peace. When a bond is real in the way that matters, there is a quiet steadiness underneath it. Even when distance exists, even when silence stretches out, you may miss them, you may wonder. But under all of it, there is a calm knowing that what is true is not erased by space or time. That steadiness is not denial, it is intuition. It is the grounded part of you recognizing that what is meant for you does not disappear simply because life becomes complicated, and you already know this does not happen with everyone. Most connections do not leave that kind of quiet certainty behind. Most feel loud, unstable, confusing, then fade. But this one carries a different energy. That matters. And here is the next sign. This person woke something in you that had been sleeping. They brought parts of you to the surface that had not fully lived before. You started seeing yourself more clearly. You started feeling pulled toward growth, honesty, and change, not because they demanded it, because the connection itself lit something inside you. And that is not small. That is not casual. That is a mirror doing real work. The second sign is exactly that inner awakening. Since this person entered your life, something in you has refused to stay asleep. Parts of yourself you had ignored began asking for attention. Old truths started rising. Hidden wounds started showing their face. This connection did not just make you feel, it made you see. It showed you the places where you were still shrinking, still hiding, still pretending to be less than what you are. It pulled you toward becoming more honest with yourself, more open, more awake. That kind of effect is not created by ordinary attraction. Ordinary attraction flatters the surface. It chases the moment. It wants to be fed. But this kind of bond pushes you inward. It stretches you. It asks you to grow. It does not just say, feel this. It says, become. That is why it feels so intense. That is why it stays with you. Because it is tied not only to emotion, but to purpose. And then there is the third sign, maybe the hardest one to ignore. The intensity does not fade. You tried logic. You tried distance. You tried time. You tried other people, other goals, other distractions. But the feeling remained, not always in the same form, not always loud, but always present. That matters. Simple loneliness fades when new company arrives. Emotional dependency often weakens when the source is removed. But this stayed. It stayed through busy seasons, through silence, through your efforts to explain it away. That kind of staying power means the connection has not reached its natural ending. It is still alive because something in it is unfinished. What you feel is real. You did not invent it. You did not imagine it into existence. And anything that enters your life through deeper alignment does not come only to destroy you. It comes to change you. Remember that, because the change is not over yet. In fact, it may only now be reaching the part that reveals why all of this had to happen the way it did. And the next part may answer the question that has been sitting heavy in your chest. If this connection is real, then why the distance? Why the silence? Why would something that feels so deeply aligned allow separation at all? That question is honest, and it deserves an honest answer. Real destiny does not move like human impatience. What is genuinely planted in your heart cannot be removed by time, fear, pride, or distance. What is meant to unfold will find a way to unfold even if the road becomes quiet for a while. Some bonds are not broken by separation because they were never built only on proximity. They exist at a deeper level, and sometimes what looks like an ending is not an ending at all. It is a pause, a necessary one, a sacred delay. There are connections that stop moving forward, not because they are done, but because both people need time to become the version of themselves that can actually hold what the bond asks of them. This person carries a real place in your story, not just because you want them to, but because something deeper has been moving beneath the visible parts of your life. There has been a larger unfolding at work, one you cannot always see from where you stand. The meeting was not random. What rose in you was not random. Even if your mind tries to call it an illusion, your deeper self knows better. Deep down, where you are most honest, you know you cannot close this chapter because it is not finished. What you are living through now is not the final page. It is a quiet rebuilding, a hidden rearranging, the confusion, the ache, the stretching apart. These are not always signs of failure. Sometimes they are signs of preparation. Sometimes both people need to mature, heal, and release old patterns before the connection can continue without damaging itself. That does not mean the love was false. It may mean the timing was protecting something real until both hearts could carry it without turning it into pain. A deeper wisdom does not see only the present moment the way the human mind does. It sees the full arc. It sees where this is going, what both of you still need to learn, and what kind of reunion could exist if fear no longer leads the way. That is why the pause happened. Not to punish you, not to mock what was real, but to protect it from collapsing under the weight of wounds neither of you had fully healed yet. Imagine two people tied by something powerful, meeting before they are ready to hold it well. The connection becomes too much, too fast. Instead of healing, it becomes friction. Instead of growth, it becomes survival. The old fears take over. The old patterns run the show. So the pause steps in, not as rejection, but as mercy. Not as loss, but as preparation. It creates the space needed for both people to face themselves honestly. That is why this time apart is not meaningless. It is not dead space. It is active. It is working on both of you, even if it looks quiet on the outside. This phase exists so old pain can rise and be cleared. So childhood wounds, protective habits, and unconscious patterns can finally be seen for what they are. Because if you came together again while still needing the other person to fill what only you can heal, the bond would slowly become heavy, fearful, and exhausting. That is not the future this connection is trying to build. Real love does not want to trap you. It wants to free you. And freedom is built in the moments where you learn to stand in your own wholeness. This distance is asking you to become full within yourself, to stop building your worth around their presence, to stop making your peace depend on their return. And that inner work is not separate from the connection. It is part of it. Do not miss that. Because the way you grow through this changes everything that comes next. Distance has a way of exposing the fears you hoped you would never have to face. The fear of being left, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being forgotten, the fear of standing alone with your own heart and hearing everything it has been trying to say. This pause brings those fears into the light, not to torture you, but to free you from them. As long as those wounds stay hidden, they quietly shape what you attract and what you allow. They make you chase what hurts. They make you doubt what is true. They make you cling where you should trust and run where you should stay open. This season is here to break that pattern. It is asking you to build a real relationship with yourself first, to fill your own emptiness with your own truth, to become someone who can receive love without turning it into pressure, panic, or dependence. And the moment you start doing that, the energy begins to shift, not just inside you, around the connection itself. Because destiny is not asking you to wait passively, staring at the door, hoping for rescue. It is asking you to grow actively, to become stronger, clearer, steadier, to meet your own shadows with honesty, to learn how to stand in peace even before anything changes on the outside. And here is something you need to hear clearly. This work is not happening only on your side, even if you cannot see it, even if their silence feels total, even if it seems like they moved on and forgot. The same deeper force shaping you has also been shaping them. Their path may not look like yours. Their lessons may come through resistance instead of willingness. While you have been leaning into awareness, they may have been fighting it. While you have been trying to trust your intuition, they may have been trying to outthink theirs, but the process is moving anyway, because real alignment does not wait for perfect comfort. It keeps working until truth can no longer be ignored. What looks like distance from them may not be peace at all. What looks like indifference may not be forgetting. Sometimes silence is not emptiness. Sometimes it is a struggle hidden behind closed doors. They may have tried to convince themselves it was nothing, just bad timing, just a passing feeling, just something easier to leave behind than to understand. The ego always creates stories when truth feels too big. It says, I am fine. It says, I do not care anymore. It says, it did not matter that much. But deep connections do not stay buried under stories forever. Life has a way of dismantling the distractions people hide behind. The routines that once kept them comfortable begin to feel thin. The things that used to numb them stop working. The silence gets louder, not quieter. Memories sharpen instead of fading. Certain songs hit too hard. Certain moments feel too pointed. A thought appears at the exact wrong time and will not leave. Your presence begins to rise in their inner world in ways they cannot fully explain. Not as obsession, not as fantasy, as recognition, as truth breaking through the walls they built to avoid it. And that can feel overwhelming to someone who is not used to surrender. That is why silence can last longer than you expect, because pride fights, fear fights, old pain fights, but those defenses do not win forever. They crack, slowly sometimes, painfully sometimes, yet they crack. Their silence may actually be the place where that cracking is happening, a battleground, not a resting place. And if that is true, then what you have been reading as absence may really be transformation you cannot yet see. That matters because it changes the meaning of the quiet. It means the story may still be moving, even while nothing obvious appears to be happening. This inner breaking down is necessary. Without it, they would return exactly as they left. Same walls, same pride, same hesitation, same fear. Nothing would truly change, and then the connection would only repeat the old pain. But when life starts stripping those defenses away, something different becomes possible. The return, if it comes, does not come as a half-hearted reach or a temporary wave of emotion. It comes from surrender, real surrender, the kind that happens when the pain of staying away becomes heavier than the fear of coming closer. That is the turning point. Not time alone, readiness, alignment, inner truth becoming stronger than old resistance. They begin to understand that what they tried to walk away from is the very thing they were meant to face honestly. And when that moment arrives, movement happens differently. It carries humility. It carries honesty. It carries the weight of someone who can no longer pretend they feel nothing. But before anything outside changes, the universe turns your attention back to you. Take a breath here. Slow down for 1 second. Think about the signs you keep noticing around this connection. Maybe a dream that returns again and again. Maybe a number that appears so often it feels personal. Maybe a memory that surfaces out of nowhere. Maybe a song that finds you at a moment too exact to dismiss. Maybe a strange pull in your chest when you least expect it. These things may not be random to you because they are not random to the part of you that already knows. They are reminders, signals, little flashes of alignment breaking into the visible world. You are not imagining all of this from empty air. You are not holding on to nothing. Something is moving, something is waking up, something real is surfacing through all the layers that tried to bury it. And if you feel that, then do not ignore this next part, because the energy of the story is not pointing toward endless confusion. It is pointing toward a shift. That shift does not arrive as a tiny hint you have to force into meaning. Real turning points arrive clearly. They carry weight. They announce themselves through action, through truth, through a soul that has finally grown tired of running. The silence, the separation, the lessons in letting go, the healing, the shadow work. All of it has been preparing the ground for a moment that already existed in the unseen long before you could recognize it. When the time is right, movement becomes direct, honest, unmistakable. Not perfect, maybe, not wrapped in fantasy, but real. And that is why your task right now is not to obsess over how or when it should happen. Your task is to become ready to receive what is true without dragging fear into it. Release the need to script the reunion. Release the urge to control the shape of the outcome. Release the tight grip on timing. Trust does not mean passivity. It means openness without panic. It means staying grounded while life arranges what you cannot force. Forgive the silence if you can. Forgive the avoidance if you can. Not to excuse pain, but to free your own heart from carrying poison into a future that may ask you to stay open. Keep building your peace. Keep becoming whole. Keep clearing space inside yourself, so that if something returns, it meets you in fullness, not exhaustion. What is being prepared is not meant to be another unstable cycle of confusion and fear. It is meant to be something steadier, wiser, more conscious, a connection no longer driven by wounds, but carried by choice. Two people who have faced themselves, two people who no longer need love to save them, but are finally able to share it freely. If that future is real for you, it will not ask you to shrink. It will ask you to stand tall in the truth you have been learning all along, So trust the process even if you cannot yet see the full design. Trust what keeps rising in you with quiet steadiness. Trust the growth this has demanded from you. Trust that real love is not always loud in the beginning. Sometimes it works in silence, in distance, in deep private transformation that cannot be rushed. You do not need to chase what is meant to meet you. You do not need to break yourself trying to force open a door that timing has not opened yet. What you need is presence, clarity, self-respect, patience with your own becoming. Because if this connection is real, then it is not here to leave you smaller. It is here to call you into a fuller version of yourself. And if the path leads back together, it will not be so you can repeat the same wounded dance. It will be so two changed people can meet again with open eyes. That is the deeper promise inside all of this. Not fantasy, not escape, transformation, a bond becoming strong enough to hold truth. A reunion, if it is written, built on healed ground instead of fragile hope. So breathe, let go of the need to know every detail. Let the story unfold without trying to control every scene. Keep walking your path, keep choosing your peace, keep answering the call to grow. Because sometimes the very thing that feels like a delay is actually protection. Sometimes silence is not the end of the story, but the place where the next chapter gathers its strength. And if this message found you at the exact moment you needed it, then maybe that is your sign to stop doubting every quiet knowing inside you. Not every deep feeling is confusion. Not every pause is loss. Not every distance means something has died. Sometimes it means something is being prepared with more care than you can currently see. And when the moment comes, it will not need to beg for your belief. You will know, quietly, deeply, clearly,